everybody, to another episode of OA News Overtime. I'm Jordan Hill. With me,
I'm
as
Justin Lee.
always,
And you're Jordan Hill.
Justin Lee. Justin, it's draft week. What's it been like for you getting ready to see not only where some of these top prospects are going to wind up, but we've got a few Auburn guys that are going to be in the mix as well.
Well, I've been talking to my agent.
Yeah.
We're gonna see. We're feeling maybe 4th, 5th, 6th round. Sometimes when you go undrafted, you get to choose where you go.
It's the best
That's
situation.
Better. Yeah.
I mean, best shape of your life.
Yeah.
Coming in to compete.
Ran an 8.440 and we're there.
They always show Rich Eisen running the 40, and they're always like, "Oh, look how off." I'd be like, "Man, I would pay to be able to run it and whatever." Because
he was in a suit, right?
He always runs it in a suit. I don't know what he ran this year. Well, I guess they might not have done it because there was no combine, but
yeah.
I would look like Darren Rovell when he ran it. And he looked like a 90-year-old man.
It's like I ran the 40. What time? That's not important. I completed the
effort,
40.
The effort was there. Well, there's a number of Auburn guys. I think it's around 6 Auburn players that are looking to be drafted. Justin, just what are your thoughts as we get ready for this? You got Seth Williams, Anthony Schwartz, Eli Stove on the offense. Defensively, Jamian Sherwood, KJ Britt, Jordan Peters, Christian Tutt. Those are all the guys that are hoping their names are going to be called. Initial thoughts and sort of what, as we record this, it's Wednesday, so we'll see the draft get kicked off Thursday night, and then it'll go into the weekend. What are sort of your expectations and the things we could see as far as Auburn is concerned with the draft?
I feel like the big question mark is Anthony, right? Because everyone else seems a little bit more like a known commodity as far as where they evaluate all of them. Between the 3rd and 7th round. We don't expect anybody to go tonight, Thursday night. But Anthony, I feel like he's the one who someone could reach for him, or I say reach, that might be where he needs to go. But, he could go anywhere from, maybe 2nd, 3rd round, someone who really wants speed, all the way down to 5th or 6th, which might be maybe where his production would put him as far as yards go. But obviously as far as yards and receptions, he's probably a 5th or 6th rounder. But speed wise, hey man, somebody might take him. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. That's the big question for me.
That's the thing, and it's funny. We were looking at some of the different projections, and he is all over the map. I mean, I saw one projection that said 2nd round, which to me, as talented and as speedy as Anthony Schwartz is, if you told me he was going to be a 2nd rounder, I'd be really, really surprised.
The stats are there.
His
production.
He was never the leading receiver.
Right.
He was always the 2nd guy behind Seth. But then on the other side, I've seen where he's projected to be like a 6th rounder, which to me, in my head, I'm thinking 5th round is where he makes the most sense.
Right.
But that speed, I feel pretty confident somebody's going to fall in love with that speed.
Sure.
And decide he's worth it, and that this is going to be the guy we need.
Yeah, I think I think surely he'll get picked. He won't go undrafted because then no one's going to want to let him pick where he wants to go, right? So he will get picked. So and then otherwise, what do we got? We got Seth might be the first man off the board probably. And then, of course, on defense, Jamian. I'd say Jamian's probably
so.
The best defensive prospect Auburn has, especially because KJ got hurt. But KJ has projection to get picked up too. So we'll see how it goes. I think Thursday it'll be quiet on the plains for the first time in a while. It's usually. But and then so Friday's 2nd and 3rd round, right? So then we're on Seth and Schwartz watch, right? And maybe Jamian. And then all the action will all happen on Saturday. And a lot of guys, as always, will be undrafted free agents, and we'll be able to see those fits, of who goes where.
We kind of talked about it, and you joked about that at the very beginning. But for a lot of those guys, like a Jordan Peters, like a Christian Tutt, you're better off being undrafted. You can kind of gauge the different teams and see where it makes sense, where you could have a fit. And if you're a 6th or 7th round pick, it really doesn't amount to much as far as security. You don't have your choice, and there's a chance you could get cut a lot easier compared to if you look at your different options and see, well, there's a window for me to be able to play for this team or that team. I'm going to go here and try to earn a spot. And I will say, I think, a Jordan Peters is the kind of guy that I think would be a pretty attractive undrafted free agent
Sure.
because of how productive he was on special teams.
Right.
I think he blocked like 4 punts at Auburn.
Right.
That's the way you make a team.
Right.
And the fact that there's going to be a preseason this year, it's not going to be. I think it's only 3 games now. I think they got rid of one of the preseason games,
Sure.
but compared to last year where you didn't have it because of Corona,
Right.
he can come into these games if he can make it to that point in the year with the in the preseason. You go in there and block a punt, and that's the way you make a team.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, special teams like like you said, making a team. I was thinking about. I think it was a comparison made with an NBA player recently. Some shooting guard who's been in the league for 20 years but never actually been good. But like that's the thing is like the comparison they made was. Everyone's just trying to be the best point guard, right? Not everybody needs one. Like we got somebody for that job, right? And then somebody said it's like going into a job application and you apply for the CEO and they're just looking for a janitor, right? Like sometimes you just need role players, and that's how you can make a team for real. Like if everybody in the world played quarterback, right? You know what I mean? Like anyway, but yeah, like you said about undrafted free agents, you can find the spot. Like the joke was. Will Hastings is going to sign with the Patriots, right? And then he did.
I was going to say, and then he did.
And that was his best shot. That was his best shot. That was his best opportunity. That was his, no complaints. That was the best opportunity he had. And those fits can happen. Like you would rather, if Schwartz were to go undrafted, which you won't, he'd probably rather go to the Chiefs where they've used Tyreek before versus, the Packers or whoever. Speaking of the Packers, what were we saying? Some of these destinations where we might like a fit, right?
Yes.
You said Seth Williams to Green Bay. I like that a lot.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's no secret that Aaron Rodgers needs more receivers. Yeah. I mean, they went out with that first round last pick and got another quarterback, Jordan Love, which he wasn't thrilled about. But if you get him...
he got Favre'd.
Yeah, they tried to Favre him. But
how the turntables.
The fact you could pair Seth Williams, who is pretty much an all-around receiver, and obviously was Auburn, Auburn's top receiver the last 2 years, Bo Nix's go-to guy. I think if you add him with Devontae Adams, I think that's huge. And the thing that makes that pick so attractive to me is that's probably like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Green Bay can address other needs, then come back and get Seth. And the thing that I think could be helpful in that sense with, going to a team, I mean, Green Bay is a Super Bowl contender.
Right.
So Seth could end up on a really good team because this receiving class is deep. I mean, There's like 4 or 5 guys that are realistically first-round picks. And I think it's fair to say that Seth is probably a notch below some of those guys, but he's still a really talented receiver.
Right.
So I like Green Bay. I even thought, too, like Baltimore because Lamar Jackson needs more targets. And you look at a guy like Hollywood Brown that's been beat up and he's not a big guy. Get Seth in there.
That would be so much fun.
I think it'd be...
that would be my Madden team right there.
That's what I would do. Any other NFL teams, there's a few different guys that I've kind of looked at in fits that make sense to me. But
put Jamie in on the Buccaneers to be with Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. Get a whole backfield back there.
There's part of me that I'm a Falcons fan. I would kind of like to see Jamie in Atlanta because... they need another safety. They lost Keanu O'Neal, and they've had some turnover on the backside of that defense. Sure. And he had the quote of Pro Day when he was asked about his 40 time. It was, sort of lackluster. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, the best. And he was basically saying, look, it doesn't matter what a receiver runs, what a receiver's speed is. When he runs into a wall, he stops.
That's so
I was
great.
like, man.
That's a great
Jamie,
quote.
come on. That's the best quote I've heard around the Pro Day. So I think I'd like to see him there.
Sure.
Jamie Ananoa also has been linked to the Buffalo Bills, which Sarah Balcheski would really like to hear that. And
former OA News overtime star.
She could keep up with him there. I think he'd be good on the backside of that defense.
Sure.
KJ Britt. There's something in me. I think that in my head, like I'm imagining him with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
I think that's like a Takeo Spikes. I think in my head, sort of like.
He feels like an AFC North person.
I can see that, and I've seen he's been linked to the Los Angeles Rams. So imagine him playing in the second level, and he's got Aaron Donald in front of him.
That's the dream right there.
There are worse situations you could find yourself in as a rookie.
I mean, yeah. Talking about undrafted free agents, if you could sign anywhere, I don't know how everyone just doesn't sign at LA.
I mean, LA.
But this is I'm also the person. If I was a 5-star prospect, I'm going to Hawaii. I don't care.
You know, I mean, I can't really fault you. I mean, you could just.
I don't understand how they don't just get everybody. Like,
But you know, a lot of people might say New England. I think in my head,
yeah,
just the competitor in me, I might say the Patriots, just because I want to go win another Super Bowl. But,
sure.
But
Well, we'll see how they look now. Year 2 of Cam, they're going to give Cam a full year. I'm going to be interested to see how that works.
and that could be another situation too, or maybe
Give him a
imagine
real
like
chance.
imagine Anthony Schwartz
Ooh,
as another one of Cam's receivers. That'd be pretty fun.
that'd be something. He could use a receiver. He has 4 scarecrows that he throws to right now.
They did get Nelson Aguilar, who
Okay,
you know,
sure.
and there are some projections that they may wind up getting one of the Alabama receivers, maybe Jalen Waddle. That would definitely help.
That would help. That
He
would help
needs
big time.
Especially after Julian Edelman retired, because
Yeah.
they got to get him more help.
That makes sense.
So it's going to be an interesting few days as far as Auburn is concerned. And
Yeah.
again, I
Probably
think,
Friday and Saturday.
and I think the biggest thing for anybody watching this, like nobody got drafted. You know, a lot of these guys didn't get picked. Might be the best situation for some of these guys to
Right.
be undrafted free agents and
Right.
get to sort of choose where they're going to start their pro career.
Right. We'll have it all. Go to OANow.com. Follow us on Twitter, social media, turn on those alerts. And yeah, and especially because like when you're watching the draft, all that's on TV. The undrafted free agent stuff, we'll track all that. We'll let you know where everybody goes.
For sure. Well, let's change directions a little bit. We're talking about the guys getting ready to go pro that were at Auburn. Let's look at a guy that we thought was coming to Auburn, but
Transition.
is instead,
There we go. We made the move.
Is instead looking elsewhere. Trey Alexander, a 4-star guard, was, you know, the thought was he was coming, and then he decided last week not so fast. So he's exploring his other options. I know Oregon, and trying to think of who else was really on him. Oklahoma, Arkansas,
Sure.
or not Arkansas, I'm sorry, Kansas.
Yep.
Was some of the teams that were really looking at him. Justin, thoughts on Trey deciding, you know, he's going to go somewhere other than Auburn and to kind of explore his options after what's been sort of an interesting overhaul of the Auburn roster this offseason?
This is a 2017 Women's SEC Tournament ball. Did you know that?
I did not.
All right, that's what this is. Anyway, no, I mean the roster was full, and I can't say I told you so because I didn't say anything beforehand. But like you know, in private, we were having these conversations. Like you know, I mean, I don't know what they're doing, and like you know, everyone. It's like, well, the main thing is like the recruiting, the fans on Twitter and everywhere else kept being like, oh, who are we gonna get next? Like, who's gonna come in? I'm like, bro, you're full. Like, relax. And that's where it is now. Like, obviously, the roster. To be clear, the scholarships are such that I think right now they're 1 under if Thor stays. If he leaves, they're 2 under. But playing time, there's not enough. And I think we talked about that last week. Like, there's not enough to go around. And you've got to find some role players. And like from Trey's perspective, and like I saw it argued that, oh, well, we left 3 guards left, so we're replacing them with 3 guards. They're not the same. Like, it's not Jamal and, you know, and Turbo is not these two, you know, Zepp and these guys have started like 60, Desi, they've started like 60 college games. Like, that's not the same. So, you know, you've got to find a bench player. And, you know, I think Trey, if he was coming in with other freshmen, he would feel a lot better about his chances. But when you bring in incumbent college starters who've been there before, you know what I mean? That's tough. So I understand him. I also understand and can imagine how different Auburn's needs and wants could be after seeing from November to now. From November when Trey signed to now, you know, you have a whole season to read and react from. And reading the tea leaves a little bit, you know, you think about going after a guy like Desi. Maybe you say, hey, we were so young, inexperienced last year. We need experience. We struggled on defense. We need a defender, right? So these coaches, they all pushed for this early signing period, and now you kind of see the mess it makes, right? Because everything's different from when they signed Jabari and Trey back in November or October, whenever it was. Everything's different now. So, yeah, it's a tough thing. If you're an Auburn fan, you don't want to see a great guard leave. But I mean, that's college basketball now. That's how it is. You can't badmouth the kid because they kept recruiting at his position. I mean, if Bo was here and Auburn brings in Justin Fields to replace him, You know what I mean? You can't just be like, "Oh, soak it up." You probably wish him luck on his way because he got replaced.
Yeah.
And maybe and it's not exactly a 1-to-1 comparison, but they kept recruiting his position.
And the thing that you hit on that to me sums it up is there's only one ball.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I understand a guy that is as highly touted as he is, as had as many options as
Right.
he had.
Right.
This wasn't a guy that like last minute Auburn gives him an offer and
Right.
it's this or I'm going FCS, something like that, Division II.
Yeah.
He had plenty of highly touted teams and
Kansas is calling you.
yeah, prestigious
Go
teams.
on, man.
He's from Oklahoma, so I mean, I think playing at an Oklahoma or even Kansas, like we're saying, that's got to appeal to a guy like that. So I can't blame him. I can't blame Bruce Pearl and those guys for saying, look, we want some more experienced guys,
Right.
and getting a guy like Desi Sills. I mean, he started for Arkansas, I think, the last 3 or 4 years. So
Right.
I mean, this is a guy that can help you right away and can play a pretty important role. So it makes sense to me in all sort of forms of the move. If you're an Auburn fan, you don't like to see that you lost that kind of talent, but still plenty of talent, and it definitely makes our job easier trying to figure out, again, how do you get all who's
Yeah.
the 5 guys you have on the floor at any given
Right.
point.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know what they do next. I don't know. They got to find maybe some JUCO kid who's still out there looking for a 4-year school. I don't know. Maybe they keep shooting for all the 5 stars they can find. Maybe they do. At a certain point, I think you start finalizing your roster and you start figuring out, who how do we fill this up? Who could come in and be a role player and understand that. So we'll see what's next. I mean, but now all of a sudden they could use a kind of a wing and a shooter. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a tough look. But like you said, I certainly can't blame the kid. Can't blame the team. That's basketball now. You're seeing it. You're hearing it more and more. You're seeing it more and more.
Folks are talking about.
We got the new transfer rule is out there. The one-time transfer. It's just going to be more acquisitional than it was before. That's just how it's going to be.
I will say, with the thought of trying to figure out, what's left of the roster spots, I'm just imagining Bruce Pearl with like the Zach Galifianakis, like the math that's like going on in his head. That's sort of what he's trying to figure out.
I'm sure he's still trying to figure out if Thor's coming back or not. That would obviously answer a whole lot of questions.
That's going to solve a lot of issues one way or the other. I mean,
Right.
Either create more issues with trying to fill his void or
Right.
to put him in and put it in pen that he's coming back.
Right.
No doubt. Let's change and go back to the diamond.
Let's do it.
Start with baseball.
Baseball.
Grab
Okay.
the baseball.
Here's one. Here's a glove. Do you want one?
No, I think
You want a
and
glove?
I'm left-handed, so I don't know if that's a right-handed.
Really?
glove. Yeah, left-handed.
I guess it's a right-handed glove,
It would
but
go
it's
on
in
your
left
left
hand.
hand. Correct. Auburn baseball knows how to put a glove on their hand, but they haven't had the luck that they wanted the last couple months, and continued this past weekend with a tough series against number 10 Florida. Only took 1 game, and again, I feel like we're a broken record with this.
Right.
Those 2 losses were each by 2 runs, so it's
Right.
another situation where Auburn was in the series and had a chance to take the series, which I think would have gave them a lot of momentum, and couldn't do it. So you look
Right.
at another SEC series loss, and they're getting ready to play at number 20 Georgia this weekend.
Right.
Justin, what are your thoughts on where the baseball team stands as we get closer and closer to the end of SEC play?
I feel like you really wanted to take that Florida series, and I think when that opener, when the opener didn't go their way, it kind of feels like they're cooked because the thing about the rest of the schedule is, I mean, you're playing nationally ranked Georgia, but if you go into the SEC standings, they have left, what is it, Georgia, Texas A&M, LSU,
Missouri.
and Missouri. So Georgia and Missouri are the 2 worst teams in the East in the standings, and then Texas A&M and LSU are just above Auburn in the bottom of the West standings. So, I mean, it beats the heck out of playing Arkansas and Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
And I think it does show you real quick that how competitive the SEC is. That
Right.
Georgia's number 20,
Georgia's
and
right,
they're
yeah.
almost last in the East.
Right, yeah. So you got a chance to get some wins here. I don't know. They've got to do some catching up just to get to Hoover, and then they'd have to do a lot in Hoover to make the postseason. Winning a couple from Florida would have helped. So it's tough, man. It's tough, and I think some hard decisions are gonna have to be made soon about just how the roster goes and what's next. But Chance to pick up some wins, chance to build some momentum, chance to figure some things out. Right now, though, all you can do is go one game at a time because it just does not help you to do anything else. So we'll see what they can do here with Georgia.
No doubt. And the thing to me, we had a chance to talk to Butch Thompson on Wednesday, and he talked about that they ended the series against Florida with a doubleheader, and they lost the back end of the doubleheader, won the earlier game. And he talked about, I might have sounded a little rough after that game, and it was you could just tell it was because he knew how valuable taking that series would have been.
Right.
But he still displayed full confidence in the team and said, it's just a matter of getting the chance to make a run. And he said, we're ready to make a run. I'm ready for us to make a run.
Right.
But we have to take advantage of the opportunity. He was saying that, you can be blessed with an opportunity to achieve something, but then you have to go achieve it.
Sure.
Georgia series is the time to try to take advantage of it, but it's not going to come easy. This Georgia team again is ranked. Just a few weeks ago, they rocked Kumar Rocker, which the second time I've done that. It just rolls off the tongue. I mean, this is not a pushover in this Georgia team, and
no.
I think I know I keep saying it, but I think you got to take this series.
Right.
Win at least 2 of these games and try to set yourself up to play an improving LSU team and a couple other teams that I think you can beat in Missouri and then Texas A&M.
Yeah. It's tough, man, and I don't know at what point do you kind of pack it in and say, what can we do next season? But anything you do, you can learn from it. You know what I mean? No matter what, take it one game at a time. The stats and the film will be there. You can evaluate it later, right? When we talk about when do you pack it in for next season. So. That's the thing. You just go one game at a time. I mean, obviously the goal, if you have one, is to make the SEC tournament because I guess the top 12 go, right? And so 13 and 14 won't even make it to the tournament. So that's where they're at. Just trying to win more. It's hard to diagnose what happened. I think it kind of shows just the margin for error in the SEC. I mean, it's a broken record. We keep talking about how good the SEC is, but in a lot of these sports, in baseball and softball, and we talk about gymnastics and those, the SEC is the elite of the elite. It's the best in the country, and so it kind of shows that you can go from the class to the bottom pretty quickly, just because everyone else is that good.
No doubt about it. All right, switching over.
Moving
the ball.
Here we are.
Keep the glove.
Yes.
AU softball.
This is an Auburn High softball.
Yes, it is. Fill us in on Auburn softball and sort of where they're at right now.
It's kind of the same deal, right? They need wins, man. Kind of the same situation. They got 1 out of 2 in last weekend against was that Kentucky? I don't know who they played.
Ole
Miss, yeah.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? 1 out of 2. They probably need a little bit more. I think they're in a better situation than baseball, of course. They just need to win some more games. And then, one of the things we kind of talked about is that these regional sites are not based on RPI. I think that, they're based on safety this year, right? And geography, not so much home field advantage. That's not what they're going to try to do this year because of COVID-19 and everything else. So I mean, that kind of would favor a team like Auburn. You would think they can go, hey, let's just get to the tournament. We're not going to go into a bunch of killers in their own home field, right? Just get in the postseason. Hope that iron sharpens iron, and at the back end of this grueling SEC schedule, you can get in this regional and go, hey, we've been here before. We did it all season in the SEC. So that's where I say their hope is. I think they're in a better position than baseball is as far as the postseason. That's the goal right now, is just get in the tournament, see what you can do, right? So. I think that's the thing to keep an eye on is where these regionals are, because it's not quite the same thing. So you could be going to a neutral site instead of into someone's own backyard, into the belly of the beast.
No doubt, and I think the thing that has been impressive, I was looking at some of the stats from Shelby Lowe, one of Auburn's pitchers. first in ERA in the SEC, first in strikeouts to walks, and the fewest walks in the SEC. So
Right.
you got a pitcher like that you can rely on.
You're right. Hey, man, you get in the postseason, pitching's the equalizer.
That's what.
And that's what Auburn's hanging its hat on right now. Right now, Auburn has great pitching. Bats are ice cold.
Which is almost the reverse of the baseball team.
Sure, yeah,
The
you're
baseball
right.
team can hit, but
Right.
pitching has been dreadful.
Right. Yeah, the softball. But yeah, once you get in the postseason, hey, man, the pitcher can equalize it. You know, you get a no-hitter out of somebody, you can win a game. Yeah, Shelby and Maddie could make that happen. So another reason why you feel a little bit better about softball.
For sure. Well, let's get ready to wrap this episode up, and again, let's turn it back
Wrap this up.
to the NFL draft. There's been a lot of crazy moments over the years. What do you think of when you think of past NFL drafts, and what immediately comes to mind of watching the draft?
Dude, I just see the clips of like ESPN puts out their best moments from past drafts, and like far be it for me, I hate ESPN, I never watch it, but just the old drafts where like Mel Kiper's like ticked off, and then every then the GM is over here like, I don't know what Mel Kiper, what does he have to say about anything? And they're just
My
like,
next door neighbor has more credentials than Mel Kiper,
And
and he's
just-
a postman.
and then it just cuts to Mel Kiper like, it's like, and like the Jets fans are booing just because they can, and they're drunk. I miss the old days of just like, let's just argue about it. Like seriously, because now it's all, I feel like it hasn't happened in a long time. But like, man, I just miss that retro vibe. They're all in this room looking 4x3 analog, just yelling at each other in microphones. That's all I want. I want more just arguing with each other because it's hilarious. I love it.
The best part, I have a buddy that's a big New York Jets fan, so I sent him, somebody had strung the quote-unquote best of the Jets draft picks, and I sent it to him, and they pick like a fullback with the 4th overall pick, and everybody boos to that.
Some tight end we don't even remember.
Yeah,
Who was it? Somebody over Warren Sapp.
Yes, it was a tight end. I think it might have been from Penn State because I saw that, and they talked to Warren Sapp, and he was just like laughing. he was in on it. The only other thing I really think of was, I think I was like 13 or 14. The draft was right around my birthday, so some of us were watching it. And the Falcons had like the 3rd or 4th pick, and I really wanted them to get Glenn Dorsey, defensive tackle that was so good at LSU.
Right.
And instead they got this guy named Matt Ryan. And I was like, no, just get Glenn Dorsey. He's so good.
Right.
And then we'll go get Brian Brom from Louisville. He's going to be a stud. And, I was wrong. they made the right pick. And
So some people were wrong about that draft, and I was one of them.
I was one of them. I did not think that
That Matt Ryan's off-balance throw didn't impress you? That across the body in Boston College?
that
That was his one highlight.
I know they beat Virginia Tech one time, and I also think there was one time in like a really tense game he like got sick on the sideline or something, then came back in and came back. But hey, it worked out, and Glenn Dorsey didn't quite have the career we all thought he would.
I used to love the draft. Like I understand ratings and stuff, but back when it was on one day, it was so great. Like and now it's not. The kids these days won't have.
Thomas, you may not remember.
Intern Thomas doesn't have the experience that we once had. But yeah, it's maybe they can make it fun again. They need to. It's become a kind of a why not thing. Like come on, used to be a lot more fun than I feel like. I'm just amazed. I used to just consume that media. You know what I mean? Like I used to just watch all of it.
I could tell you like the 15th ranked linebacker or whatever, and that just doesn't exist.
Like in high school, and now it's like, I can't. It's not my job.
Exactly. Well, let's wrap it up. We're going to get ready to watch the draft ourselves. Again, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until next week, take care.